The White House says the FIFA arrests have nothing to do with politics. That's after US-led corruption charges raise questions over American interests. Anti-austerity protests break out in London. This as Britain lays the groundwork for a referendum on leaving Europe. And one of the Kiev government's most vociferous supporters, the US State Department, admits it's unaware of the recent deadly shelling in eastern Ukraine, amid reports that troops used heavy artillery. Hello, you're watching RT International. We are coming to you live from Moscow, where it is now midday in the Russian capital. I'm Paul Scott, and it's good to have you with us. Well, the White House is insisting that corruption charges brought against top FIFA officials were not politically motivated. This comes after 7 executives from world football's governing body were arrested on Wednesday. It's part of a larger bust on FIFA by US authorities who claim they discovered money laundering schemes hiding tens of millions of dollars offshore.
Today is a good day for soccer fans.
We're entrusted with keeping soccer open and accessible to all. They corrupted the business of worldwide soccer to serve their interests and to enrich themselves.
And in Florida, FBI agents removed evidence from the headquarters of the Confederation of North, Central American and Caribbean Football. Harry Fear has more on why the US is now focusing on the sport it calls soccer.
If you think about football, do you really think about the United States? People are asking what sort of special relationship does the US have with football or its world governing authority, FIFA? This is what people are asking here. After all, the US even has a different name for the sport. It doesn't call it football, but soccer. Now, all of these high-profile arrests that took place here on Wednesday and that early morning raid on the headquarters of FIFA, an independent international body, they all seem to have been spurred by a years-long investigation by the FBI, the US's domestic law enforcement agency. And the US has been making it very clear that it thinks its role is to clean up international soccer, as it calls it. It wants to rid the game of what it calls systemic corruption. Of course, of those arrested on Wednesday, 7 in number, they're now in the custody of the Swiss. But we understand all but one of them are going to oppose that forced extradition from Europe to US jurisdiction. The US has been making clear that it believes it has the legal authority and obligation to act as, if you will, world football or soccer policeman. But what is clear is that Swiss authorities instructing, for example, their American counterparts in Major League Baseball, well, that would just be unimaginable. People are questioning the balance of relationship and people really questioning the US's tentacles of power apparently reaching to Europe in this way.
Meanwhile, the Russian President Vladimir Putin has commented on the latest developments.
We know about the pressure that was applied on Mr. Blatter to force him to remove the 2018 World Cup from Russia. And we know his position, which has nothing to do with any kind of special relations between Russia and FIFA. He thinks that sport and politics should be separate.
Well, US authorities charged 9 FIFA officials and 5 sports media executives. They're accused of taking over $150 million in bribes over a period of 25 years. Well, the bust comes just a day before the vote on re-electing the head of the organisation. Now, its current president, Sepp Blatter, is seeking a 5th term. He's run FIFA for 17 years. Blatter has not been named in the investigations and says he will seek a new term despite the arrests. Well, Sepp Blatter's only remaining challenger is Jordanian Prince Ali Hussein, sometimes labelled as the charming Prince Ali, who you can see here. Well, the 3rd son of Jordan's King Hussein, he's also a major general in the Jordanian armed forces and used to serve as commander of the King's bodyguard. Prince Ali's wife is a former CNN journalist. We asked some experts about the timing of the US accusations.
Jordanian general, that this guy sounds to me like a perfect pliable stooge for the West, a puppet kind of character. But, you know, the timing, again, this is a dead giveaway for me. This investigation by the media and by various police authorities has been going on for around about a year now. And suddenly there's all this suspicion surrounding Sepp Blatter.
I don't want to sound like I'm a big defender of FIFA. We know that there are murky dealings that go on there. About 3/4 of people here in Britain, many European countries, around 75% believe FIFA is completely corrupt. But this is an FBI investigation. Swiss police go into a 5-star hotel in Zurich. What's the connection between Switzerland and the United States? I mean, the film director Roman Polanski's was in Switzerland. They couldn't extradite him. It raises questions about what exactly is behind this sudden rapprochement over extradition. The Swiss government and the Swiss authorities don't take their orders from the FBI, do they?
Well, there's plenty more details and analysis on the FIFA raids and the arrests on our website. That's rt.com. In the UK, police scuffled with protesters when thousands marched through central London in a show of anger against the Conservative government's austerity policies. Well, the protest coincided with the state opening of Parliament, where the Queen traditionally sets out the government's agenda. This year, it included the capping of some welfare benefits. RT's Laura Burden-Manley was in the midst of the unrest.
The streets of London really did descend into scenes of chaos as thousands of people marched through the streets against the continued austerity measures taken not only by the Conservative and Liberal Democrat coalition for the last 5 years, but also the 12 billion worth of cuts that they're going to take over the next 5 years with the Tory majority government. Started outside Whitehall in the centre of the capital of London, where the Queen's speech was taking place. It then came forward towards Trafalgar Square, which is where we're standing now. And as you can see just behind me, a couple of thousand people at least have joined together to share their views about how the austerity measures are going to affect the people. Now, there were scenes of absolute chaos on the streets. There were dozens of arrests. Members of the media, including us, the RT crew, were pushed to the ground at some point, and there were many violent scenes. There were quite a few very violent arrests.
Now, should the United Kingdom remain a member of the European Union? Well, Brits will be faced with that question as early as next spring, with a bill to be introduced to Parliament on Thursday.
Early legislation will be introduced to provide for an in-out referendum on membership of the European Union before the end of 2017.
Well, that's as the British Prime Minister David Cameron kicks off a whistle-stop tour of European capitals, where he'll pitch his plans for special treatment for the UK within the bloc, but he may struggle for support.
So I have heard some expect my speech to pave the way for a fundamental reform of the European architecture, which will satisfy all kinds of alleged or actual British wishes. I'm afraid they are in for a disappointment.
We are not in favor of a Europe à la carte. We must stick to what we have together, which is this European Union with a place for the UK, but we must not adapt.
In the state of law, we have rules, and for the time being, we have to apply the jurisprudence from the courts. If they don't want to, they can, but then they have to go the whole process and just leave the whole system.
Well, the UK already opts out of the euro and the Schengen passport-free travel agreement, as well as a number of EU judicial measures. Anastasia Churkina gauged the mood on the streets of London.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Now that election mania has died down in the UK, Brexit is all the buzz.
I believe we can reform the EU and our relationship with it, and then the British people will have the final say in an in-out referendum.
David Cameron is making the rounds in a charm offensive to win the hearts and minds of EU leaders in hopes of getting a better deal for the UK. How this pans out will play a major, possibly decisive role in whether or not leaving will make more sense than staying.
It's time to sort out our relationship and understand what's really the fault of the European Union and, frankly, what's of our own making.
It depends what package Mr Cameron succeeds in negotiating.
In a sharp U-turn, even the opposition Labour Party, with its anti-referendum stance, now backs it.
The British people want to have a say on the UK's membership of the European Union. Labour will therefore now support the EU referendum.
Cameron promised he can deliver, but a rocky road lies ahead.
Because it's the biggest single market in the world, and I think it would be a bad step for us to come out of the EU.
There's too much trouble getting out. There's too many things tied up.
According to one poll conducted earlier this year, the majority of the British electorate would vote for the UK to leave the EU, with 51% opting for the exit.
We're different from Europe. We don't have the same legal system, we don't have the same approach to life.
Many people are tired of laws being made that affect us, without real consultation.
I don't really see any reason why we shouldn't get out.
There are plenty of Eurosceptics among the general population. For example, almost 4 million people voted for the anti-EU UKIP party in the last election, more than for the Scottish National Party and Liberal Democrats combined.
The European Union will do their best to try and give what we call crumbs off the table to the British government. These are very tiny things in the grand scheme of things. They will do something that they can try and help David Cameron persuade the British people that being in the European Union is the best way forward. But we, in UKIP and our political party, believe that the public of Great Britain know that this is a ploy and that the only way to succeed globally and mixing with the rest of the world is being outside of the European Union.
For now, Cameron has his work cut out. First in persuading the EU to accept reforms, and then persuading the voters they'll change anything. Either way, the countdown has begun.